Hello and welcome to episode 76 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans Off Topic and Game Journal podcast. My name is Mike Sollosi, I'm Monsoon on the boards, and today I am joined by RPG Fan Reviews head Alana Hagues.
Hello everyone, it's Alana here, Diving Falcons on the boards.
So, Alana, we're between games right now on Retro Encounter. Chrono Trigger's behind us, and April and May are ahead of us. So we wanted to kill some time and talk about something that you and I have talked about off of the podcast multiple times, and that is the very good dogs of RPGs.
Yeah, we love dogs.
Yes.
Dogs are amazing. We spent a while debating whether we were going to cover all RPG animals or all dogs, and then we thought dogs are the best.
Yeah.
Dogs are like your loyal friends. They will never leave you. And they're like the perfect companion for RPGs, and we could think of there's tons of cats as well, but like I think we're going to come with a cat episode at some point. Who knows? We've got lots of cat lovers on the website, but dogs are the topic of today. So I love dogs. Think about them.
You and I are both lifelong dog owners who love dogs, and I think if we had made it just an RPG animals episode, we would have spent 80% of the time talking about just the dogs anyway. So,
exactly.
So that's what this.
I can't think of.
What can't
I
you
can't think of any other animal that's a party member more than dogs. Maybe especially
more than dogs. Definitely not more than dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you include wolves. Or
yes,
we are going to include wolves in today. There's a lot of good wolves who are they're canine enough to be considered good dogs. So. Yeah. I think we should just take turns. Like each of us talks about a favorite dog or wolf in an RPG that we love, and maybe talk briefly about why they're a good dog, and then move on to the next one.
Yes.
How does that sound?
I think that sounds good.
All right. So you kick us off. Who's your first good dog we're going to discuss today?
Okay. So I'm going to start off. Not my favorite. Second favorite. He's a wolf. A series I keep bringing up on the podcast and is coming up on the podcast in the Game Journal episodes. So we're going to talk about Rapide from Tales of Vesperia. And actually, I'm probably going to bring up a couple of things from the series because Tales likes their dogs. They like their cats now, but they liked their dogs more at one point. And Rapide is like the perfect example. So to give a little bit of context, Rapide is basically he's Yuri's kind of best pal. Yuri's left the Knights. He's now kind of fighting for justice, vigilante, Troy Baker character kind of thing. And then Rapide is just kind of this really cool wolf. He's a bit scarred. He carries a knife. He carries a pipe. And he just kicks ass, really. Like, he's completely the coolest, looking dog. He's the coolest looking wolf for ages. And I love it.
I love the way that when he walks, how he very casually has the pipe in his mouth. I don't think he smokes the pipe.
I don't think so. No.
No, I think he just has the pipe and the eye patch to look cool because he knows he's the coolest looking dog in the Vesperia world.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the coolest dogs I can think of, or wolf. Sorry. I love how he reacts in skits. So he's the cool dog. So like you'll get some kind of dogs that will get petted and just kind of whine and whinge and everything, and he does have a little bit of a whinge, but a lot of the time he's just kind of there and people acknowledge him and he loves it and he laps up on the praise kind of. But he's like him and Yuri are like best buddies. Like Yuri's not necessarily a people person, and you could tell that those two are kind of like two hardened, not soldiers, but like they're like hardened people. They've been through a lot of rough stuff. Rapide also has a cool and hilarious side quest where
he has to mark his territory in as many places as possible.
So every time you camp on the world map, Rapide will mark his territory. So just think of that as you will. But Rapide fights with knives in battle, and it's quite similar to another dog of the wolf that we might talk about. No, actually, it's not. But it's nice to see a dog fighting with a weapon. So he fights with a knife. Kind of, they're Asian-inspired knives. I think quite a few of them. I can't specifically remember. But he has some really cool moves. I think he's the quickest party member as well, which is usually the case for wolves and dogs.
Sure.
But he is just kind of... Obviously, he's not hugely plot relevant, but he's like Yuri's best friend. And He is pretty cool, I think. I think he's definitely worth a mention as
Repeat
far as our
Repeat's an
games.
excellent dog. I think Vesperia is one of the best Tales of games, and
Yeah,
I played it fairly recently, only like 3 or 4 years ago, and I had been a bit down on Tales by then because I don't know I was feeling Tails fatigue, and but Vesperia brought me back in, and Rapide's a really fun, cool party member, both from his mannerisms and his style and how he interacts with the rest of the cast. He's really an excellent dog character.
yeah. In a group of misfits, he's like the stoic, kind of quiet loner. Although Yuri does that as well, but Yuri's a bit more fiery, and Rapide is kind of the solid middle ground in the group of literally a group of misfits.
And
He's a really cool.
speaking of a team of misfits that include a wolf and a man named Yuri, we very recently finished playing Shadow Hearts Covenant for this podcast, and Shadow Hearts Covenant has one of the most excellent dogs in RPGs in Blanca, the
Yeah,
the white wolf who does not speak to the other humans, but everyone always understands what he's saying, and sometimes feels like the most competent person on the team. Like when he's
he is.
the only one that avoids the trap that in the prison island, and he has his own side quest where he tries to become the top dog in Europe and Asia.
Yeah,
I really liked Blanca in that game.
he's really cool. He's really sweet as well. He's an example of a dog who does react differently to Rapide. So
Hmm.
when I can't remember her name, Karanda's the girl that Karanda's trying to protect, she calls him Snowball, and he's just kind of like, no, no, that's not my name. And of course, she doesn't understand him, so she's just like, oh, he likes it, and he's like, no, it's not fair. I want to be cool. It's not powerful or anything like that. But Blanca. See, Blanca gets a good side quest as well, like you were saying. He's
Hmm.
just There's this thing with dogs and side quests. Like
And
there's
also,
just some really cool.
it's so weird because Blanca is not connected to the larger story of the game at all. Like,
No,
if he wasn't in the game, except for when he rescues the rest of the team, he doesn't really fulfill much of a story role. But his side quest has him reconnecting with his father and engage
it's really poignant.
yeah, and engage in the wolf fights in a way that doesn't feel exploitative or gross. It feels just like a fun, cool side quest. And
Yeah.
meeting all the weirdo dogs like the alien and the man dressed up as a dog.
Yeah, my favorite was the zombie in the
Yeah, right.
sewers in Russia. I just love that. It's
It
ridiculous.
Shadow Hearts has this weird, absurd humor in it, and but also plays a lot of it very straight. Like the fact that Blanca is accompanying the party and is understood by most of the team taken completely in stride by everyone,
Yeah,
which is which I think who someone comments on it sometime. It might have been Yuri, right?
I think so.
Says like, wait a second, why are we letting the dog make the decisions for us, or
Yeah,
says something like this once or twice. But it's like Shadow Hearts Covenant's an excellent PS2 RPG, and Blanca is a really good video game dog. I sort of like that he doesn't he's a little bit less passive than Rapide. Like Rapide always seems to go with the flow of things, but Blanca actually reacts a little more than
yeah.
Rapide does.
They play quite differently as well. So Rapide's more
Yeah.
like a classic fighting dog, whereas Blanca's more of a balanced, fast character, but has more magic as well. And he's got some healing and support moves, which are really useful if you
Yeah,
use him.
Yeah, he's an above average magic character. I would use him as
Yeah,
I would throw some healing stuff on him because because he's fast, he often goes first, and that's a good trait for a healer.
yeah. Stick Gale and heal, and he's fine.
So, Alana, what's the next dog you want to discuss on this podcast?
Oh, well, actually, I was going to jump back a little bit because I did want to talk about another side quest. So we've talked about
Oh,
two really cool dog side quests,
sure,
and
okay.
I want to jump back to Tales again. And one of my favorite side quests ever is in Tales of Symphonia.
Oh, right,
And
yeah, I know where you're going with
Colette,
this. Mm-hmm.
Colette is a massive dog lover,
Mm-hmm.
and you basically go around the world, both Silveron and Tetheala, and you name 26 dogs, and it's just so cute. Every time she walks up to one and she's just like, "This one's Bob," and she's just like, "Look at his little paws," and it's just, I see me in that. I can do that.
And
Just
don't
when
you?
it's
And the reward for it's not bad, isn't it? Like a title and
yeah, it's
and an
definitely
accessory or something, or just a
I
title?
think it's definitely a title. I can't remember if you get an accessory for it, and I don't know if they added anything else to the PS2/PS3 version. But it was just something so satisfying about taking a girl around the world and letting her name all the dogs. It's just so sweet, and also it's just
and just the idea. I mean, as dog people, the idea of going around and meeting every dog in the game and petting them is very appealing.
oh yeah, I could do that
Mm.
definitely. Just
Yeah,
spying on
I'm on
dogs.
board. I'm on board with that side quest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think probably one of my favorite. I think it's the only side quest that I've done every time I've replayed that game because it's just so sweet. I couldn't like not. I can't ignore the dogs. I just can't do it. But right. So I'm going to go back a little bit further, and everyone knows Secret of Mana, Seiken Densetsu. But America came up with their own kind of equivalent to Secret of Mana. Well, Secret of Mana 2 it would have been. And Secret of Evermore is a really cool game that everyone should play.
Right. Secret of Evermore has a weird development history.
Yeah,
It's the only Square game, or I should say SquareSoft game, not developed by Square
yes,
because it was made by the American SquareSoft publishing team, and I say SquareSoft because SquareSoft was the name of the international publishing wing of Square, and
yeah,
I think it was built on an engine based on Secret of Mana, but with new art assets. I think I'm not
yeah.
100% sure about that. But it's an interesting, weird Super Nintendo, pretty fairly late Super Nintendo RPG that was developed in America somehow.
It's a really, really nice looking and sounding game as
Hmm.
well.
And
You
Cecil from Final Fantasy IV is in it. Maybe not with permission.
oh God, I don't remember that. It's
No,
been a while since I've played Evermore.
he's a shopkeeper in Ivor Tower or Ebon Keep. I forget which one.
Oh, I
But yeah,
see.
that's a weird game. But it does have an excellent dog
Yeah,
in it.
it does have an excellent dog in it who has some really cool transformations. I don't think he has a name. I think you have to name him, don't you? So
I think both
I
the boy.
don't
I
know.
mean, the only characters are the boy and the dog, and I believe you name both
Yeah,
of them.
that's right. And then, yeah, so the dog is basically Secret of Mavamore has you kind of semi like Chrono Trigger, has you going back and forth through time. Of course, when you go through time, you get a different kind of dog each time. So you start off with a normal dog, and then I can't remember every single transformation
I
he goes through. You have
well, okay,
oh,
yeah,
go
I remember because
good.
I have an insane memory for these things. Your dog is a small, I think a terrier-sized dog, but then when you
Yeah,
and you don't exactly go through time. It's four people that sort of create their own worlds that are based on history. So,
that's
yeah,
right.
and it's weird. Like there's an evil clone in each one, and you have to defeat them.
Yeah,
It goes some strange places. But the four places you visit are prehistoric times, antiquity, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, mishmash,
that's it.
and medieval,
And the
and
future.
then future. And in prehistoric, your dog is a big shaggy wolf. In the antiquity time, your dog resembles a greyhound. It's a very lean white look.
Yeah,
In medieval times, it is a reddish pinkish poodle, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
That's a really strange choice.
and then in the future, it's a robot dog that resembles a toaster. And instead of having
He's
lunging attacks, he has cannon attacks.
he's the best.
It's it's an excellent dog, but let's talk about him some more. That I mean, Secret of Evermore is a really weird, unique game that I owned and enjoyed a lot as a kid. Because I mean, the idea of like traveling through fantastical worlds when you're a boy and his dog and trying to figure out how to escape is a cool premise. And having this dog who's this like heavy hitter character, while the boy can cast spells and use swords and stuff, your dog is always stronger than the boy, but it can only sort of like leap and bark.
Yeah, he's amazing. I got some really cool artwork of him. The artwork for this game is really nice, actually. Just kind of scrolling through it all. But no, yeah, he's I now I remember the pink poodle. And I just remember thinking, I'm in medieval times. Like, what? Why? I don't really get it. But it's been so long since I've played Secret of Evermore. But I do remember him being just running around, kind of, yeah, like you said, he's much stronger than every other. He's yourself. And I just remember getting the toaster dog and just being like, oh boy, like an actual robotic dog that's really quite cool. I can't think of many. Obviously, there's an obvious non-RPG dog that's robotic or android. I don't know Mega Man well enough.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, no. Rush counts. He does.
he does,
But
yeah.
but but no, we're not. We're gonna avoid. We're gonna stick to RPG dogs. So no Rush, no D Dog from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but no, the robot dog in Secret of Evermore is really cool.
yeah. He was. I like the way that he changed every time as well to fit the setting. I think that was really cool. Like you say, he doesn't change. He doesn't do a lot. He just jumps and attacks at enemies. But
Hmm.
I guess that's probably the most realistic depiction of an RPG dog in a kind of action turn-based setting. Maybe like not discounting some of the future games that we might even bring up later. So, but it's a really good, cool depiction of a dog. Because if I took my dog with me and I was attacked, then that would probably be how he'd react. But I really
And
like
also
Secret Dog's fun.
your dog probably wouldn't be able to wield a sword or a knife in his mouth with
Exactly.
with the level of adeptness that Rapide can, and because
No.
in of Evermore, your dog is non-communicative. It just it barks, but it's very loyal and stays by you and will attack what you attack and protect you, and it's an excellent RPG dog. But
Yeah.
maybe more committed to the idea of being a dog than some of the other dogs we're going to talk about in today.
Is there ever an explanation for why he changes so much?
Not really.
Or is it
It's because
no, he just kind of vanishes, doesn't he? So I remember
I
between
think
prehistoric.
I think it's just okay. I don't remember that much about the mythology of Secret of Evermore, but you're not traveling through time. They're separate worlds,
Yeah,
and going and just switching worlds changes your dog to fit the world. Is my I don't. It's not very well
yeah.
explained.
Like the soul of the dog comes with you and not the dog because I don't know. How can you ever?
I don't know either.
Is it worth theorizing over? It's just worth knowing that there are five really cool dogs in Secret of Evermore.
Yeah, man, Secret of Evermore. Well, let's stay in the Secret of Blank or Blank Densetsu uh, world for now because I talked about this a couple weeks ago with Robert Fenner on the localization episode that I really love Seiken Densetsu 3, the sequel to Secret of Mana that was never released outside Japan. And there's that game has six major characters, and one of them is a werewolf named Kevin. And I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly why, but for some reason, werewolves in the Secret of Mana games, both in Legend of Mana and Secret of Mana, are like boxers or martial artists because
Right.
they're always like they're doing uppercuts and stuff, and the two werewolf guardians in Legend of Mana like are tough fighters, but for some reason they associate werewolves with martial arts, and Kevin is your sort of brawler monk uh, character,
Yeah.
and also at night he turns into a werewolf and his attack power doubles, which is great.
That's
But
amazing. Oh, is there like a day and night cycle in this game
no, no,
then?
no, there
This is
is,
how
yeah,
like
yep. There's a day and night cycle and a day of the week cycle, and depending on which day of the week it is, certain elements are stronger than others. But
wow.
it's an awesome Super Famicom game if you can track down the translation for it. But the one thing about the dogs in that game that really gets to me is it has six characters and you pick one of them as your main character. And if you pick Kevin as your main character, then it starts out with Kevin and playing with his puppy named Carl in the woods. But then an evil magician casts a spell on Carl that makes him attack Kevin, and so Kevin has to basically fight off his dog and accidentally kills him.
Oh,
And then there's it uncovers a conspiracy going on in the kingdom where Kevin lives, and and there's dark magic and dark forces afoot. But basically, Kevin leaves his home trying to find a way to break the curse and bring his puppy back. And
That's,
it's very sweet, especially since Kevin is not a very articulate character. He talks in grunts and growls and
yeah.
and broken words, but like his sort of naive motivations that end up carrying through this big save the world kind of story just to get his puppy back is for some reason resonates with me much more deeply than the other characters in that game who
So
are
you're,
trying to save their best friend or their kingdom or whatever. It's like, nah, man, he just wants to bring his puppy back. I'm with him.
yeah, I'm with him, definitely. Is he your favorite, would you say, as a lead character, or is that tough question, I suppose?
It is a tough question. He's the most fun character to control because he's tied for the fastest attacker and deals a lot of
Yeah,
damage. He makes the game a little too easy though, because since he just is an overwhelming physical offense with no matter how you build him. So
yeah.
I used him in every party the first couple times I played the game, and then I had to decide, like, all right, this time I won't use Kevin because I always use him.
Yeah,
But I love that game, and having a
need to
really
play it.
cool werewolf character who wants to just help save his puppy is a really great little piece of backstory.
I like how
Oh,
they
yeah,
use
I'm
that.
sorry. Yeah, spoilers for the first 10 minutes of Sega Densetsu 3.
For Kevin's story,
For
anyway.
only if for the first 10 minutes of the game, if you choose a particular character.
No, I think it's more poignant with dogs. There's more, like with films, it's more poignant if their pet dies because there's some sort of attachment to them. If the,
Also, sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
I've seen this happen a lot of times. I've made comments like this, and I've seen comments like this where people are much more bothered if they're playing a video game and you say have to shoot a dog is much more distressing than shooting a person.
yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah,
there's
that's definite.
because animal cruel. I mean, it's just how a lot of people are conditioned, I guess. But animal cruelty feels much worse than cruelty to other humans in video games.
We're so desaturated on violence on other humans that if
Yeah,
you,
well,
God forbid, that you shoot another dog, yeah,
you're right. We are like, I mean, as a society, we are desensitized to violence for sure. But also,
yeah,
I think it's because, I mean, as dog people, we have known and met dogs that just show you such unconditional love and loyalty,
yeah.
and you don't see those emotions in humans. So like the idea of harming a dog is much more distressing than harming a human. But I don't know. We don't need to get too socio
We don't
political commentary on this podcast.
know. But then
But
I can think of another like loyal dog
ooh,
friend
do
that
tell.
comes. Well, I mean, you know about this one, and we both spoke about this game last year. So we're going to talk about Interceptor, who
Mm.
is the coolest Doberman ever. I'm not a big fan of Dobermans; they're lovely dogs, but Interceptor is definitely the coolest. Actually, I think Interceptor probably gets the award for best RPG dog name, possibly, just for how cool it sounds. But Interceptor is Shadow's best friend. He basically only really turns up when Shadow's attacking, so I don't know as much about the stats of Final Fantasy VI as Mike does. Mike can probably like reel off everything about
A
Interceptor.
lot of
Though,
things, yeah, but it's I'm not 100% sure he's a Doberman. He could his color makes him
oh,
either a Doberman or a Rottweiler, but
yes,
his ears being cropped suggests Doberman, and there's a lot of Doberman dog enemies in the game. So I think Doberman is probably most likely, but it could be something else. And
yeah,
most of the time, Interceptor will either counterattack if Shadow takes damage,
yeah.
or attack in place of one of Shadow's critical hits. But he can do a lot of damage, and
He's real powerful, especially early on. It was really
oh
nice.
yeah,
It was a really nice surprise for him to pop up because I just thought, oh, Shadow's kind of. Initially, I was quite disappointed with Shadow. I was like, he's not too powerful at the moment. And then Interceptor comes along and just wiped out the field. And I was like, good dog. I
hmm
was like quite satisfied with that. But he,
I don't think he's involved in Shadow's super critical attack though, because I think that's just Shadow just floating around and hitting with a knife or something. But
So
And also the only person that Interceptor likes besides Shadow is Realm,
it's Realm.
which hints at the story thing. Interceptor's a great dog, and it's always a pleasant surprise to have him show up in battle because he can do way more damage than any of your character's major attacks, at least especially in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
And he has a bit of a story role in hinting to Realm's past and just being a positive dog presence in general. But it's not the only time that we've had dogs show up in a major way in a Final Fantasy game because in FF8, which is not one of my favorite games in the series, but Rinoa has almost all of her special attacks involve her dog Angelo, right?
Yeah, they do. I love Angelo a lot. I like it
She
when
fires him from a cannon.
she fires him off her arm. I mean, what do you need? What else do you need? Angelo is a good dog.
Angelo puts up
He's
with some
very.
crap too. I mean, I don't think my last dog would have liked being fired off of a cannon.
I don't think so.
Because isn't it really a cannon? She has that wrist-mounted thing for her
I
projectiles.
no idea
That's what
what
she
her
does,
weapon.
right?
Yeah, I have no idea what it is. It's like a semi crossbow, but a little bit like
It's
a
like a crossbow and a boomerang and a kite, sort of.
yeah. So I think dog's an improvement on that, but maybe not firing off of it because he
I bet it's
goes.
really good for like firing off frisbees for Angelo.
Oh yeah, I
Hmm.
bet that's why she's got it. That's it. That's
That's
what it
it.
is.
Her
That's
weapons
what
are
it.
projectiles that Angelo chases. That's it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's it. We figured it out. I think again. I think
I would.
Angela has.
I wonder
Oh,
in FF9 maybe Garnet and Aiko could use their tennis rackets to entertain a dog.
yeah, maybe. But Angelo just has like no like story presence at all.
No. He's not around the way Interceptor is.
He's literally just the magical dog who's like, here we go. I'm ready to attack for you. I do like the way that they use a lot of Renoas. I think everything but her level four, I can't remember what they called level four limit break, her last special attack. Basically, I think he's in all of the other ones. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But he's a pretty dog. I have a figure of Angelo who's always next to my figure of Renoa. I just picked it up really cheap somewhere and he's really cute.
Angelo's a good dog, but
He is.
doesn't quite have the role that that Interceptor does. And I guess staying
Yeah.
in like if we average Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VIII, you get Final Fantasy VII, which has a very prominent dog, lion, monster guy.
I'm never sure what Red 13 is.
Yeah, it's weird. It's uncertain to see what kind of normal animals show up in in different Final Fantasy games because they seem to have dogs, but also monsters, and unclear if they have other like typical Earth species. But Red 13 species resembles a dog or a lion. But I think his mannerisms and his actions and his movement is very dog-like.
Yeah, he is very mature and he's loyal and I think he's got a good sense of justice about him. I really like him and actually I think Nanaki has one of my favorite subplots along with Vincent and possibly Sid as well because I love the first time you go to Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah, that
It's
is a
Cosmo
really
Canyon.
really cool story segment going through
Yeah,
Cosmo Canyon.
I really liked the setting of Cosmo Canyon and I liked the whole he's basically not. It's a bit like Blanca actually, although Blanca came to disrespect his father. So did Ananaki Red 13. He believed that his father had run away as a coward, and then when you go through the Cave of G, I believe at the end of it, you come across Seto, who's been petrified, and you find out and discover that actually he's the reason that everyone's still alive in the canyon, and he sort of
He
realizes
had been
that.
holding off the cave
Yeah,
of G,
the G.
the G tribe, I think is what they call them
Yeah.
for like in some epic battle. And Red 13 slash Nanaki has a good howl and a good cry next to his dad's statue.
That little howl is so sad. I think when I replayed it a few years ago, I did tear up. So like Aerith's death's not as sad as Nanaki's little howl. It's just
It's a good part of
oh
Final Fantasy VII is a good RPG that's sort of I think been uh, blown out of proportion weirdly by its legacy and its fans.
yeah, and
So
actually Nanaki's been largely ignored by most of the compilation, which is really sad. Like he
yeah,
has two lines in Advent Children and literally exists to carry Kate Sith around.
Yeah,
Although,
man, like
you
Kate Sith, Red 13, Barrett, and Sid barely show up in Advent Children.
it's really sad. And I like Nanaki a lot. I want to like him more. He's a really cool dog lion thing. He's also really useful. The thing is about Seven is everybody's so customizable that to say he's the quickest, fastest, most magical
Yeah, he
dog,
has I
he's
think
got
his
solid magic stats.
yeah, his stats are about average, but I think he has slightly faster. I think he has slightly higher speed and magic than
Yeah,
other characters.
definitely.
And I didn't use him a ton because I always focused on physical attacks and limit breaks, and his limit breaks
Yeah,
are just okay.
yeah, I agree.
But he's a really good character, and when you look at the Final Fantasy VII cast side to side, he's like him and Kate Sith make the cast much more diverse
Definitely, yeah.
than they otherwise would be.
Actually, thinking about Final Fantasy, they don't use there's a summon, so there's two Earth summons in the entire series, and or they generally switch between Titan and Fenrir. What do you
Hmm.
think of Fenrir? Do you like Fenrir's kind of use over the series? He's barely been in many games. I think
He's been in
he's
9 and
in
6,
yeah, 9 and 6 are
and
the two he's been in.
Cerberus is in FF8.
Oh yes, Cerberus is a really cool Earth summon.
So yeah, like I think I'm trying to remember. I think both FF6 Fenrir and FF8 Cerberus cast image spells, which do different things in both games.
Yeah,
But in FF9, it was an Earth Elemental summon for
yeah,
Ico.
yeah. It's purely Earth, and Titan does make an appearance as well. So I think the summon is mainly Fenrir, but there are two versions of it. So you'll have either Fenrir come down and attack, or you'll have like a mountain come out of the ground, and it'll be Titan or something like that. I
Oh
can't
man,
100% remember. There was two variations of it, like there were with a couple of others. So,
what would you
but
think
no,
of
it's
what would you think of a race of wolf or dog people appearing in FF14 and having their primal be either Fenrir or Cerberus?
I think that would cost me a Fantasia potion, so real money.
Oh
That's what.
man.
Although it'd be really strange because I'm married to a cat person, so
Ah,
hmm.
and well, to be fair, I am a cat person in FF14.
But no,
Literally.
14 does good dog minions. You can get dog
They do,
minions
yes.
really around.
I have a dog minion. This is one of the first ones you get, I think.
Yeah, I have a couple of dog minions. Yeah, given to me, given around. Yeah, maybe make a race of dog people. Although they'd probably more be wolf or beast men, I think.
They would have to be because the gnolls are a little dog-like, even though they're more rat people.
Yes. Yeah.
But you know, like the speaking of wolf people and dog people in MMOs, there's a I want to talk about the Worgen in World of Warcraft for a moment
Oh,
because
okay.
I haven't played a lot of World of Warcraft. The only MMO I've put a lot of time into is FF14, but the story around them is pretty fascinating. The kingdom where they're from was just one of the regular playable kingdoms in Warcraft 2. They were I think their color they were if you picked the humans and chose the color black, then you were that kingdom, right? But
Right.
sometime around Warcraft 3 or World of Warcraft, they didn't want any part of the new war, so they quarantined themselves off and just cut themselves off from the rest of the world. But then
Yeah.
in one of the World of Warcraft expansions, and I definitely don't remember which one because again I haven't really played World of Warcraft. It comes out that they had been inflicted with a werewolf curse,
Ah.
and they made a new playable race of wolfmen called Worgen, and basically they have a whole section of the World of Warcraft main storyline devoted to werewolves and wolf people and dealing with the curse. Gen Greymane is the name of the king of that group, and he's playable in Heroes of the Storm, which I've played far more than World of Warcraft. But
He's
yeah,
a really cool looking werewolf as well. They're really traditional looking. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah, they're very traditional looking, like horror movie werewolves, and but they have a bit of a sort of a sort of like a savage dignity to them that I
Yeah.
think is a really appealing design decision, and it's a cool part of the storyline. Like when I read about what was going on in that part of the WoW lore, it's all really cool. Like in general, Blizzard is really good at developing lore and kind of awful at telling a linear plot story. But it's a fun read checking it out. And if I were to play World of Warcraft, I don't know if I would make a Worgen character, but I would definitely consider it because those are some cool looking wolves.
They are really cool looking wolves. The King Gen Greymane looks so Greymane, sorry, it looks so cool. He's he's just like the perfect stoic kind of not vengeful, but you can definitely see that he
Oh
wants
yeah, you
he will
you could
kill
see Liam
somebody.
Neeson portraying him
I can
in a World of Warcraft movie.
I can see Liam Neeson portraying him in a World of Warcraft movie. I would pay for that. I feel like that's what we missed out on last year, maybe. And
Maybe. I mean, I because the Warcraft movie from last year was basically about Warcraft 1, I'm slightly worried that they're planning like 6 of them.
oh
But
no,
I don't know exactly how far they'll take that. But yeah, World of Warcraft does have some cool wolves in it.
it does. So I guess I don't have any other werewolves, but I think we both have picks from this series that are basically anthropomorphic dogs, people.
Mhm.
So Breath of Fire does dog people
Right?
apparently really well. See,
They do.
I've not played one and two, and I've only played three and four and finished four.
And well,
So I want,
I've only played I've played the most of 1 and 2 and parts of 3, and that's all. So between the two of us, we have 80% of the series covered.
we do, and we magically discovered that actually the series does dog people really well because I was coming in and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, Breath of Fire 4 has a dog character in your party. Skyus, I think is how you say it. I don't really know, but basically Skyus is kind of like he looks like Orin. If Orin was a dog, then
Yeah,
Skyus
with the I'm
is
looking at a picture of him now because I'm not familiar with Skyus.
yeah,
But he has sort of loose robes and an oversized sword,
yeah, and he's 7 foot. This wiki says 6'12",
which is
so which we
that
were
that's a
having
yeah six
yeah we were
twelve.
having a bit of fun with that. Yeah, but yeah, Skyus is a mercenary, obviously from the way that he looks. It's quite like he's just he walks around. He's a bit of a loner. The grass runners, I think, are fairly known. Some of them are known for being loners. I think Ursula, who's another grass runner, although it's more of a clan than a race of people.
So
She's a bit of
are
a
all of the dogs in Breath of Fire grass runners? Because they look like because I'm looking at the other two Breath of Fire dog men, and
yeah.
they have sort of different body types but similar colors and
No,
similar clothes.
yeah, I think I can't see. This is something I didn't do a lot of research on the grass runners before I started, but
Me
they're
neither.
more of a. I didn't realize there were so many dogs in Breath of Fire, and I feel really bad. I think earlier ones they're more purple, aren't they? I can see like there's purpley ears, and there's a couple of them.
Sort. I mean,
That's
in game they look a little darker, but in all of the official art, they're sort of the same pattern of brown and white. And yeah,
okay.
the two dogs that we're referring to, other than Skyus, are Bo and Bo from Breath of Fire 1 and 2, who are definitely not the same person.
Yeah.
But they both use bows. One of them is sort of more of a
Oh
hunter.
wow.
One of them's more of a hunter character, and the other one is a healer, who's the companion of the main character at the beginning of Breath of Fire 2. But
Oh.
they're clear. There's just a lot of anthropomorphic animal people in the Breath of Fire series in general, because there's a winged kingdom in all of the games.
Yeah.
There's a cat man named Ray in Breath of Fire 3,
Three.
and there's a cat girl named Cat, which is imaginative of them
Oh wow.
in Breath of Fire 2. And there's also a frog man and an armadillo man in Breath of Fire 2. They just love anthropomorphic animals. But but yeah, they have an entire race of dog people in the Breath of Fire series,
Yeah, we
which
skipped over that.
it really I kind of miss Breath of Fire a little bit because it always had a sort of a neat, colorful design aesthetic.
Yeah,
I like when I have a party of characters in an RPG that they all look sort of distinct and different.
yeah,
And Breath of Fire does that beautifully.
yeah.
The only one in the series I've finished is Breath of Fire 2, but I think it's a pretty good Super Nintendo RPG.
Yeah, I remember I finished for a long time ago now, early 2000s.
Yeah, geez, it would have
I
been late.
remember it being,
It would have been late '90s. I finished Breath of Fire 2.
yeah, it was a really solid, fun game. I like the style of Breath of Fire 4 because it's quite watercolor, so I think a lot of Breath of Fire 4 is Asian inspired, I believe. I really need to brush up on this game and replay it. I have got it now. But anyway, I want to talk about Skyas a little bit because Skyas is kind of like the lone mercenary. You don't really find out a lot about his character, but he has his own fighting style, which is called Bushi Dog. So it's like Bushido for dogs.
Oh
It's
wow.
yeah, Bushi Dog. It's great. But he is. I remember him being quite a powerful, fast character. So I think his attack is similar to it's similar to Ryu, but he's quicker and he's got a higher counter rate. So he is definitely your typical kind of samurai wanderer. He's associated with water as well, so he's really cool. I remember when I was a little kid playing this game, and I was just thinking, like, if I wanted a dog, then I'd like somebody like Skyus. But then, having come back and read it about him, and found out in the Japanese version, Skyus was had a drinking or an alcohol problem, and so when they translated it, they had to change it because of censorship laws. Censorship,
Really?
well, not censorship laws, but like they were wary that people would be like, "Oh, Skyus is like an alcoholic," because he's a bit of a flirt as well. So even though he's like a cool mercenary, he's kind of a bit more.
Man, that sounds like
In,
I would like the Japanese version of Skyas more.
but in the localized version, they gave him a stammer, so he has like he stutters when he talks instead, which is a bit disappointing. But I remember him having that speech impediment and thinking at the time, like, oh, that's really, I don't know, there was something odd. But yeah, Skyus's Japanese version is probably a lot more interesting, I think, than his American and European counterpart. But he is a really cool character, and I remember I think I had him in the final party for the end of the game, along with the obvious Ryu and Nina, just because he's a dog who uses swords and is yeah. But I don't know a lot about Bo, so I don't know.
Well, I don't remember a lot about Breath of Fire 1 Bo. I just know that he had a bow and he was a dog. He was pretty soft spoken, I think, because I don't remember him as vividly as Nina or the fish guy. Because
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, I didn't I never finished Breath of Fire 1. I thought the second one was a huge improvement. But
Yeah.
the second one, it's a little unusual. Bo's not in your party for that long. He's with you at the very beginning of the game where he's a healer that has a crossbow. And then he departs for like the entire middle two-thirds or so and rejoins late.
Oh,
But
okay.
in Breath of Fire 2 there's an unusual system where you can fuse different characters to have them transform. And what you had to do for Bo to transform into his crazy giant robot form required dark and light elementals, which you also needed to transform Kat and Jean and Nina and probably another character I'm forgetting. So basically, having a transformed Bo meant using weaker versions of three or four other characters, which was which
Okay.
was not really worth it because transformed Jean and Kat and Nina are better than transformed Bo.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some good dog people in that game.
There are the grass runners, having dug around a little bit more. The men are like dogs and the females are like foxes. So there we go. I had no idea
Interesting.
that there were. Oh,
I want to talk about a different dog now. We're gonna go a little bit more generic, and I want to talk about the Mabari Hound that joins you in Dragon Age.
yeah. He's really cool.
He is really cool. He's you there's a side quest very early in the game to get some medicine for the injured dog, and he decides that and Mabari hounds evidently imprint themselves on people and only have and only follow one human. So you rescuing this dog has him decide to follow you, and he joins your party as a warrior, and he's surprisingly effective, but not quite as strong as the more humanoid party members after you get a bunch of classes and points and stuff. But
Oh, imagine if he could change class though.
and you know that you can't change class in that game. You everyone's either a warrior, a rogue, or a mage.
Yeah.
But he is a warrior and gets warrior skills and a couple unique dog skills. But he can't take on specializations, so he can't get like Templar powers or Champion powers or anything. But
Yeah.
but I mean, and you probably know if you've played a BioWare game that the strength is in the dialogue, and the dialogue involving your Mabari Hound, who you name yourself. But I think people took to naming him Bark Spawn after some webcomic did that. The dialogue with the Hound is awesome because Morrigan does not like dogs, and the Mabari Hound really wants to make friends with her. And there's an amazing scene that I might have to show you later if you haven't seen it before, where there's a character named Sten, who's this big ogre-looking dude, who's part of a warrior caste system in his tribe,
Yeah.
where basically Sten and the dog stare each other down and growl and bark at each other, and then Sten goes, "You are a true warrior and of honor and loyalty," and the dog goes like, "Happy bark."
Oh.
It's an awesome bit of dialogue, and I am dumbfounded that BioWare made dog dialogue as good as they did in that game.
It's nice because it's like well, you said generic, but it's receptive. So it's nice when you're telling your dog because you can do this. This is probably a sad part of my life where you like role play in front of your dogs and go, "Oh, you're so cool," and they just like bark at you, and it's like, yes, he's responded. He knows what I'm saying to him. It's that kind of
Oh yeah, no,
relationship because you're building up a
every
relationship with
dog
the dog.
every dog owner has had lengthy one-sided conversations with their dog before.
Oh yeah. See, I've not played Dragon Age. I've been told to play it, and part of the reason I want to play it is because of the dog.
Yeah, and the Mabari Hound is not as effective as other party members later in the game, but it's a really fun presence, and I'm glad he's in the game for sure.
Yeah. I wish that more games would do, if they have dogs, would do the kind of chat to the dog, take the dog out, do good things with the dog, and have fun. So I like Dragon Age is good at doing that, and BioWare is always really good at choice. I
Hmm.
think I'm trying to lead on to something
Oh, are you?
because there is another
There is
RPG
another
dog
RPG that
that,
lets you take the dog out
lets
and
you take.
talk to him.
I remember finding when I found this out that you could do this with this dog. I was like, this because this dog's not even the best party member, but I was like, this is it. This is what I have to do. I have to have the dog in the party. So
He's a
I
good party member though.
he is a good party member. Koromaru from Persona 3 is one of the best dogs ever, I think. He's so cute as well. See, I'm going to say this for all of them.
Hmm.
Koromaru is probably the cutest, I'd say, out of all of the
Koromaru
dogs.
is adorable, and
He is
and even the
adorable.
little touches about him, like because he fights with a knife in his mouth, similar to Rapide,
Yeah.
and similar to Sif in Dark Souls, who I was thinking about talking about, but I haven't played Dark Souls, so I decided not to. Um, but like when Koromaru gets a critical hit or does a one more attack,
Yeah.
sometimes Yukari or Junpei will be like, "Oh, good boy, Koromaru," and
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, you're taking the words right out of my mouth."
Yeah. So he was a stray, if I remember, and then they found him at the the shrine, didn't they? Naganaki Shrine, I think it was.
uh,
And he was the
sort
monk.
of.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
he was the dog of the monk at the shrine, and then
yeah.
the monk died. So Koromaru would spend every day watching over the the site where the monk died, and
Yeah.
um and I think Fuka or Yukari, probably maybe just Fuka, would like people would stop by and feed him, and he was a friendly, nice dog. So yeah. So Koromaru has always been a good boy,
Yeah.
but then one
Loyal.
night during the dark hour at midnight, which is a part of the Persona 3 story, because where demons called shadows attack people at midnight, but they only can be perceived by certain people with the ability to see shadows. Uh,
Yeah.
Shadows attack the shrine around midnight, and Koromaru has the power to see them, and Koromaru fights off a shadow by himself.
Yes. Without an evoker as well.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love the little evoker they build him. So like the evokers are the guns that most of the characters use.
Mm.
Koromaru gets like a collar with little angel wings on the back. And he gets his own little seize band as well. And
Yep.
he looks so happy with it all. He's just so proud of himself. He also gets a dog persona, obviously.
And
He gets
it's
Cerberus.
yeah, and Cerberus. Okay, this is a double Final Fantasy callback. Cerberus looks like a Doberman with three heads
He does.
in the Persona 3 version of it, and Koromaru is shockingly effective in combat. He can cast
He
speed boosting
is.
spells, and he's a better fire mage than Junpei. And
Yeah.
he's very fast and gets a lot of critical hits. He's a good party member.
He's really good for normal battles because he has death spells. He doesn't always
Right,
use
that's
them in
right.
like
He
FES.
has instant kills, but he'll only use them if you scan an enemy and it shows that they're weak against Mudo.
Yeah, which is fine because once you've scanned it once and you're training there for ages,
Hmm.
then he'll do it quite often. I had to take Koromo with me because he is adorable. But a lot of people kind of don't find him as good as some of the other characters, and I think
Well,
the
those people
speed
are
buffs,
wrong.
they are wrong. I really like Koromoru. I had to have him because of the speed buffs, because of the death spells that he gets, and because he's a dog. He's just adorable. Like, I don't know, just like you're saying, there's the one, probably the only JRPG where you actually build up the relationship with the dog. He does get a social link in the portable version. He
Yes.
gets the strength one, but it's only playable with a female character, which is why, like, not moaning. Like,
Well, I mean, it's because the male character
yeah, they've got the equivalent of a strength.
they just brought back everything from Persona from the regular version of Persona 3 or from the
Yeah,
PS2 version of Persona 3. So and they only changed the arrangement of the social links for the female main character. So
yeah,
it's kind of too bad that you can only pet Koromaru and take him for walks and have him find items for you as the female main
yeah.
character. But he's still awesome. I love Koromaru. He's one of the best video game dogs. Period.
He is. Yeah, and you get to take him on walks, which I think we said, but you take him on walks, and I think you'll sometimes pick up items or you'll like bump into one of your other social links and you'll boost them. They're worth doing occasionally, even if it's just for the joy of saying, I took my dog out today. I didn't go to Tartarus. I was happy. It's like what Koromaru is like the light in between all of the darkness of Persona 3's kind of depressing story, especially as it gets later on. I don't know whether you can walk him after a certain time. I might have to replay
um,
it and
I'm not sure.
develop. It might be after the other end, but I'll have to
Because
get.
the game ends if you do the good ending, which you should in Persona 3. The game ends on January 31st, and it might.
Yeah,
I'm not. Maybe you can't walk him anymore after Christmas. I'm not sure
I
because
feel like
in December and January the tone of the game changes.
heavily.
Yeah,
Koromoru is like a bright spark in it, though.
yeah.
It just got. Although and he's really sad as well. Whereas
Well, yeah. I
far as
mean,
he does get really sad at times, and you can tell when he doesn't want to go out and when he's hungry. So
and well, his backstory is similar to the that Hachiko story that was made into a movie about the dog who waited at the train station
yeah,
for months, but when because his owner had died while at work.
yeah.
And
Also,
it's a little bit like that story.
Koromori though does get like some kind of he gets in Persona 4 Arena. He's a double character with Ken, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's a
he
like
is.
one fighting character, which is so
Really, you control Ken, and Koromaru is involved in certain special attacks, and you can do a lot of interesting two character setups with Koromaru,
yeah.
kind of like oh shoot, kind of like Felicia summoning a mini cat in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or Ice Climber's shenanigans in Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah,
Koromaru is and Koromaru wears Ken's old hoodie in the
yeah.
in
I was gonna say,
yeah in arena, but it's fun using them. And having
it's
a dog nipping at someone's ankles while Ken is fence like poking a spear at them is a fun look.
it suits him. Hoodie does suit him.
And
Sweater.
also in Persona Q, which is a game whose dialogue and story I do not praise often,
Uh,
there's one side quest where Teddy and Koromaru hold a competition to see who's the cutest mascot.
well, Koromaru.
Koromaru should win. I won't say exactly what happens, But it sort of ends up as a draw. But it was fun seeing Koromaru and Teddy have quote unquote dialogue because Koromaru doesn't only Aigis can understand what Koromaru is saying. But yeah, he's one of the defining Persona 3 characters, I think, and
Yeah,
one of the best mascot characters ever. Koromaru is great personality, totally adorable to look at, fun in combat. Koromaru is just the best.
he's the best.
Okay, now I want to go over two last dogs before we close up, and one of them is a very good dog, and one of them is a very bad dog.
Oh no, there are bad dogs.
Yeah, there are. Well, there's only the one that I could even think of in video games. But in two games I've played quite recently are the 3DS remakes of Dragon Quest VII and Dragon Quest VIII. And
Yes.
In Dragon Quest VII, there's one quest where one village, all of the animals have been turned into people, and all the people have been turned into animals. And so
Oh,
you have a really strange side quest of trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and you meet another person from outside the village who can talk to animals, and he helps you divine what happened, and then you defeat the demon that put that curse on the village. But one of the animals that was turned into a person is a white wolf puppy who was turned into a boy, who's named Gabo in the PS1 version and Ruff in the 3DS version. So and then Ruff helps you defeat the demon, but as part of the demon's curse working out, Ruff remains in human form. And then when you like encounter the demon a second time, shortly thereafter, the demon tries to remove the curse from Ruff, but instead it just gives Ruff the power of speech. so so you have a fully cognizant wolf boy that rides a wolf around, but spent his entire life as a wolf puppy and is now like a human for the first time, and he's very excitable and enthusiastic,
yeah,
but maybe a little annoying. But I think it's a cool concept for a character. I mean, just having to divine what happened out of this town where everyone was turned into an animal was a cool little vignette for Dragon Quest VII.
oh, he sounds. So he's excited to be a human. I'm assuming then.
A little bit, because he
Yeah,
really likes the party, the main characters that came and saved the village, and he approaches everything with excited, sort of an excited curiosity, like,
yeah,
and he's a little boy. I don't think he's supposed to be older than 10 or something. I don't. He's a little out of place next to the rest of the cast. But he's a fun presence in the party, and I liked his concept in general. But
oh,
the bad dog I wanted to talk about is from the game immediately after Seven, and that's Dragon Quest VIII. Around the
oh,
halfway point of the game, a very bad dog named Leopold becomes possessed by a demon and kills one of the people you're trying to save in Dragon
oh! I
Quest
remember
VIII.
this.
Yeah, and eventually he becomes a demon dog flying around in the sky, and you have to track him down with your own flying flight item, I should say. I don't want to spoil everything about Dragon Quest VIII, but he's a very rude, very bad dog that feels out of place because when you talk about dog characters in video games, they're almost all positive or a faceless attack dog. This is a named dog with a real personality and a real character who's mean, which is not my perception of dogs in video games most of the time.
I guess it's not his fault though. I mean, he's only really bad after he gets possessed, so it's
Well,
not really
he's kind of
his
also
fault.
bad before.
Oh yeah, because
He,
he's living
yeah, no,
like
he started out as a mean dog and then became a mean dog possessed by an evil demon.
oh, so then it's just exacerbating his
Yeah.
already present kind of negatives, I guess. Yeah, I'm not used. See, when you told me before we started recording that you had a bad dog, I was thinking, what dog? And I could have completely forgotten about Sir Leopold actually
Yeah. Hmm.
from Dragon Quest VIII because it's been so long since I've played it.
Well,
But
it's very fresh in my mind because I played the 3DS version came out in January and I finished it in February, so it's been very recent.
yeah,
And that's the only way I can possibly think of a bad dog in an RPG is because I defeated him a month ago.
Yeah, I literally can't think of another bad dog in an RPG.
When I thought of him, I did a cursory search for others and was unsuccessful.
People
So
just can't bring themselves to admit that dogs are bad because they're never bad anyway.
it can't be
They're
fun
fine.
writing an evil dog character.
No, there's plenty of evil cats and evil werewolves,
Sure,
but
yeah.
yeah, I can't think of any other evil dogs. Werewolves are different. They
There,
don't
yeah,
count
there's
as
there's
much.
even a handful of bad werewolves in the Seiken Densetsu games that we discussed an hour ago.
The boxing ones.
Right. So that is a lot of good dogs and one bad dog that we have discussed today. We have been Retro Encounter. This has been Mike Sollosi. I'm Monsoon on the boards at the Real Monsoon on Twitter. If you want to support Retro Encounter, we encourage you to leave a review on iTunes or other services. Hit the RPGFan.com forums or the RPG Fan Facebook page for more great RPG themed content. We recently did episodes on Chrono Trigger, and very soon we will be doing episodes on Tales of the Abyss, the PS2 3DS classic Tales game.
There's no dogs in Tales of the Abyss, or
There
no
aren't?
good like. There are dogs, but there's nothing specifically screaming at me like good dog.
But yeah, so Tales of the Abyss is in our near future, and we we do have a Dragon Quest V episode in the planning stages. I don't know if there's any dogs in that game either. There's a really really good cat in that game. If we ever do an RPG cats episode, I'll bring up Dragon Quest V. But
Okay.
I think that's going to be another few months away because we're having some scheduling difficulty with it. But that will be coming up in the next few months. So Alana, how if listeners want to reach out to you, how do they do so?
Yay. So please talk to me about dogs if you're going to do this. So as I said, I'm diving falcons on the boards. I've also got Twitter at Alana Hagues, or you can pop me an email at alanah at rpgfan.com, or I have a blog at the Ruby Rogue, which needs updating. I said this at the last four episodes now, and it's still not updated. But if you want to talk about RPG dogs, because I know there are ones that we've missed, one that jumps to mind is Dog Meat from Fallout, but I don't know enough about him to talk about
Right, and
him.
there's also Boney and Mother 3, but
Yes, and
we talked.
King.
Yeah, right. Oh man, there's a lot of RPG dogs we missed. But
Yeah,
we've been talking for so long already. We'll just have to leave them alone.
no. They'll get some attention. They've got their love. They've got love, and we can go back and play the games if we want to go and love them anyway. But no, if you want to talk about RPG dogs, animals, tales, then just hit me up. Go for it. Oh, and if you want to like email the podcast as well, then any comments or anything, Mike will surely get back to you if you email retro at rpgfan.com.
That's right.
And
I did forget to
we
mention
love,
that earlier. Thanks, Alana.
yeah, just send us your feedback. We would love to hear from any of you. Please just send us topic ideas necessarily, or you could just give us suggestions, comments, feedback, anything. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And I also even have a dog-themed Twitter account in addition to my regular Twitter, The Real Monsoon. I am also at Evoker for Dogs,
You are.
which may or may not be connected to a dog we talked about earlier tonight.
You actually are. I always forget this.
Yeah, I keep a second Twitter account for when I go on stupid rants
Common writer.
about Japanese superheroes mostly.
Oh,
There isn't a good Kamen Rider RPG. That's too bad. But there is a pretty good
oh.
Sentai RPG called Chroma Squad. I recommend that one. No dogs, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no dogs, but it's pretty good if you like Japanese superheroes. So yeah, I'm at
Yeah.
the Real Monsoon and at Evoker for Dogs, and please hit me up on either of those for RPG Fan Talk or Dog Talk. And I think that'll about do it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.